Hello and welcome to the talk. How do you track your costs? Do you track them by project, by department, or only by the financial account? In the following, I'm going to talk about a real-world example that is applied at Austrian Audio, how cost centers can be used in a practical way, and especially how it can be configured and used in Odoo base especially. My name is Vadim Rau, and I first got in touch with Odoo when we tried to implement an ERP system for a startup I was working at that time. And today I represent Sodexis Austria, being responsible for the German-speaking market at Sodexis. To share a little bit about Sodexis, we've been an Odoo partner since 2012, have been working exclusively on Odoo implementations ever since. Headquartered in the US, with presence in Europe. We have offices in France, Austria and Switzerland. And with over 60 talented employees, we can enable a smooth Odoo implementation. We have proudly completed over 150 successful Odoo implementations and offer more than 150 apps in the Odoo App Store. Like the Sodexis EDI connector that I had a talk about on Thursday. Before I dive into the cost center accounting, let's take a quick look who Austrian Audio is. Founded in 2017, they're based in Vienna. Austrian Audio specializes in development and manufacturing of high-quality audio products, including microphones and headphones. With a team of 48 employees, Austrian Audio serves both the B2B and the B2C market worldwide. And Austrian Audio proudly manages their own manufacturing operations in Austria, ensuring control over the production process, by the way, completely depicted in Odoo. So Austrian Audio has been using Odoo since the version 11. And doing like full accounting and manufacturing in Odoo and several other apps. And before like switching to a newer version, actually Austrian Audio used an OCA app for cost centers, which we replaced while migrating to Odoo 17. And now the same can be done in Odoo base. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. So what is cost center accounting? It's more of a concept, as I believe, that is more rooted like in the continental European accounting than Anglo-Saxon one, but of course not only. And it's a method of tracking expenses and assigning them to specific business units where those costs were caused. It gives it detailed, cost controlled and another dimension basically, so that the management can see exactly where the money is being spent. To understand the value, let's look at the difference, like the normal accounting, I mean with financial accounts, that tells us like what type of expense it was, so like the rent, salaries or IT services, which are like also indirect costs in that case. And for cost centers, we have this who or where dimension, so we can not only see the sum it's spent on like salaries, but we can distribute it to the departments. How does Austrian Audio use cost centers? So first, it provides them financial transparency. You can understand where every euro is spent, so not only its marketing expenses, but you can see specifically is it spent for a trade show or some campaign maybe. Also it gives you access to the performance of the departments and the projects, and you can compare the actual spendings against, for example, some estimated budget. And you can spot an early issue early on. And then also, it gives you guidance for the future investments, because you can check how much did we spend, for example, on a project of that kind in the past years, and how much should we plan for the future for something similar. All right, and and today I would like to show you how to set this up in Odoo. Basically, let's have a look. How we can do it. Basically, there are two components to that. Mainly, it's the analytic plans and the analytic accounts, which are of course interconnected. And basically, the analytic plans are a way to organize your cost centers. So, for example, your projects are organized in the analytic plans projects. By the way, Odoo actually does that automatically if you use the project app. And then you can, for example, create an analytic plan for your departments, or in case of Austrian Audio, they also have an analytic plan for trade shows. And the second component is the analytic account, as I said, and this represents the individual cost center, so to say. So if it's a project, like the headset, for example, development, or if it's the department plan, then the marketing or R&D is the cost center itself, which is the analytic account, or the trade show itself, OXP, is the analytic account. And now I will show you how to set this up in Odoo. So first of all, you will need to activate it in the settings. Here is the boolean, and then you go into the accounting app, and here you have the analytic accounts and analytic plans. So this is where you create those cost centers. First of all, like the analytic plan cost centers, the trade shows, or the projects. As I said, the projects are already by default actually in Odoo. And then the second step is the analytic plan, which is assigned. This is also where you assign it to the analytic plan cost centers. Or if you look into this headset project, you assign it to the plan project, just as an example, or the trade show OXP to the trade shows. And then now that you set it up, you can actually also make Odoo work for you and save a lot of manual work. And this is by configuring the analytic plans. So first of all, you can, in the analytic plans itself, you can define whether you want to, on which domain you want to apply it. So whenever you create an invoice or a vendor bill, for example, you want the cost centers or the analytic accounts to be applied mandatory or optional in that column here. And you can say based on what it should actually take the analytic account. In this case, we defined, and this is actually also the case for Austrian Audio, the P&L accounts are all mandatory financial accounts, which means whenever I create an invoice or a vendor bill, it would automatically, it would actually not allow me to save if I don't assign a cost center to it. So let's try this out. We will just create an vendor bill for expensing our food and beverage on the Odoo XP. And now we will set the bill date, and we will try to confirm, and actually Odoo gives us a validation error because we defined this to be mandatory. So only when I select the cost center, Odoo will allow us to confirm it. And this is not it yet. So one thing is it helps us to think a little bit for us, because that way we don't need to always, there are human errors. You can always forget to assign the cost center, and if you don't do it for every vendor bill, then your report is not going to be precise, right? So then there is another tool. It's called Analytic Distribution Models, which actually can help you to fill the cost center in that case automatically. Of course, it can be also for the OXP. So in this case, I define the financial account prefix, and I assign the marketing cost center here automatically. You can also see it in this view. And we just do the same thing. So we create a vendor bill, and we already see that based on the prefix of the financial account, the marketing cost center is selected. And since we also in this case want to track that it's specifically for the Odoo experience, we also select this, which is an optional setup. Yeah? And now we can confirm it. So yeah, this is one thing, and you can even go a step further and actually let Odoo distribute your costs to the different departments, for example. So whenever you have indirect costs like telephone costs and you don't want to book, you make like a booking for every department, right? Manually, you can actually define in the same view in the analytic distributions models. Here I already predefined it. I took the financial account for telephone costs and I distributed by a key, you know, based on the statistics of the last years. I assigned 20% of the telephone bill to the general management, 20% to the sales, and so on. And this helps us to do the following. So in this case, I have the phone bill, and we can see here already, based on the prefix again, it's automatically seeing the distribution, and whenever we we enter the price, we can, the Odoo will distribute those costs based on this key. Now that we have the automation running, and as the vendor bills or invoices come in, we want to analyze our data. And for that, we are using the analytic reporting tool of Odoo, which allows us to analyze the data from different perspectives, basically. So if we now look at the telephone costs, and so here in this case we have for example the order by date. We can now see how Odoo distributed it based on the key I just showed you. In this case, we have like several references behind it. That's why, I mean, it's not 1,900 which I just showed, but it's higher. So, but this is basically the result. And then if we take another example, so if we are in research and development and we are developing our headset project, we can now check our costs for that project in the last 3 years, compare our costs, and see which department caused those costs. So we have a second level, a second dimension, not only for the project. We want to see how much did research and development, how much did acoustic engineering actually cause here. And then we can go a dimension lower and actually see that we have in the last year we spent 17,800 for certification costs, for acoustic engineering, and for electronic engineering. This is what we spent on prototyping. So we have this three-dimensional way of looking at it. Or if we check the other example from the trade shows and we check our expense for the Odoo experience from the last years, we can also see which department caused those those costs, and at the same time see further how much did we spend on travel and expense, advertising, promotional item, booth costs, and so on. And also we can turn this, of course, around. I mean, we can also check for the travel and expense. Yeah, so we just filter for the travel and expense, and then see which department costs the most costs. So general management, marketing, and this way we can budget for the future. We can plan the OXP, and of course you can also, if you want, I mean, you can even go lower. You can even check for the basically labels. Sorry. So you can even check, hey, how much did I spend actually on flight tickets for each department, if you want it. So yeah. Let's get back here. We can now make informed data-driven decisions by comparing revenue from a project based on the invoiced bill to the expenses tagged to that project. We can calculate the return on invest for a specific project. We can review the analytic reports daily to monitor our spendings, and we can adjust our funds and plans and for specific departments if they reached their budgets already. And for future projects, we can check the past, how much did we spend for a product introduction, and estimate for each department how many resources will we need for the future. So to conclude, I would like to leave you like the 4 key takeaways, how you can leverage Odoo's analytic features, which is, first of all, the structure. Analytic plans, it's not just a feature, it gives you a framework for a multidimensional reporting. And you can change the perspective, as I showed you. Second, it's about efficiency, so Odoo helps you to automate the things. You don't need to rely that you will remember what you need to enter. It helps you fill out the cost centers in that case automatically if you wanted to, or distribute the costs. And third, it gives you control. This tool allows you to move beyond just high-level numbers, but it gives you like financial control for each department or every project. And finally, yeah, it leads to strategy. It's not just about reporting, but it also guides your future investments. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm very welcome to answer them. You can scan this QR code.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. So here we have a few questions. The first one is it possible to get an approval level for the configuration for analytic plan?
Well, not specifically for an analytic plan. I mean, in Odoo you have a base feature for defining user roles. For a bookkeeper, for example, you have different levels. So someone is not allowed to go to the configurations tab, for example, and not use the configuration of analytic plans at all. But there is not such thing that you can like approve, like that your employee will set up some analytic plan and then the manager will like approve. Then you might need to use some extensions.
Thank you. Can you also export the information and work on it in Excel?
Yes, in fact, this is also what Austrian Audio does, because so far Odoo actually doesn't allow you to add the analytic plans into your P&L, for example. So as I showed you, you can analyze your data with analytic plans, analytical reporting, sorry, but in the P&L you will not find it. So in this case, Austrian Audio exports like all the journal items basically and can organize the data the way they want. So you can do it if you want.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, when you replaced the OCA module, how did you manage historical data from the past?
Yeah, that's a good one. Basically, when we migrated to Odoo 17, we had to basically, remove, the column for the cost centers from the past, and replace for all past journal items. We had to import the data for the analytic accounts. So this was, of course, a little bit of work, but this way, all the historical data. I mean, there was a smooth change to Odoo 17, just that they didn't look at the column cost center, but at the analytic accounts.
Okay, thank you. Is there a link from accounting to BI Live in Excel?
You mean BI outside Odoo? Probably. Then you might need to use an external app that is offered maybe by one of the third-party apps, and then there might be a connector, but I don't know if it answers the question.
Okay. And last question is, can you add analytic distribution after bills have been posted?
No. You would need to set it back to draft and assign, and then change it and then confirm the bills again.
Okay. Thank you for the answers.
Thanks.